Hi there, my name is Uvideo, and this is going to be my Mario Party 2 submission for AGDQ 2023. And the category I'm going to be submitting is Minigame Coaster Normal, otherwise known as Normal Coaster. So what is this category? Minigame Coaster is a bunch of worlds of pre-selected minigames that you have to play through and win in order to get to the end. Depending on which mode you select, that determines the number of worlds that you have to play through. So easy, you have to play through 3 worlds, normal, which is this run, 6 worlds, and hard is 8 worlds. The reason I'm choosing normal is because it covers all of the content of easy, and the reason I'm not choosing hard is because the last 2 worlds can give you luck that just straight up does not allow you to even win some of the games. And it happens quite often, so it can be quite an inconsistent run when trying to do no resets. So with that all being said, let's just get right into the normal coaster run. In 3, 2, 1. So the first game we're going to be playing here is already one of the most random of the entire run. This is Bumper Balls. So the objective of this game is to knock your 3 opponents off of the mountain. But as you can see, this is going to be really inconsistent, so that was nice that somebody just rolled off right at the start. I'm going to try to use a strategy here where I get stuck in between 2 of the characters, and that might allow me to knock them off kind of fast. It's not quite working out. Let's see if I can get Yoshi to the edge here. Something to keep in mind is that middle section where the ice is actually extra slippery, and it can be harder to change your direction on that. So there we go, first minigame done. That took a long time. That took 29 seconds. For reference, I think my best time on that game is 5 seconds. So yeah, a lot of randomness, but I mean, it's not actually that hard to win, just hard to do fast. So our second game here is Roll Call, so I'm going to be quiet while I count these boots here. I think it was 18, but I'll recount. Maybe 19? I think it was 18. Well, I hope I was right. So, anyway, the less the boos there are, the faster this game is because of this cutscene right here where it actually counts them all. I believe the lowest you can get is 16 and the most is 21. And I should mention that if I do fail a minigame at any point, it's not really a big deal. Usually, it doesn't happen too often for this category. It's very unlikely that I would game over, and if I did, all that gaming over does is send you back to the start of the world. So it wouldn't be an entire disaster. So this is Tile Driver. So we're trying to match my tile set with the one in the middle. This game is very RNG heavy. The best patterns will have you usually doing about 5 ground pounds. This one had way more than that. But one of the things you can do to optimize is try to figure out the fastest path to take. But not only that, when you do your ground pounds, hit the L button immediately after you jump. And those 2 things can actually help you optimize that game quite a lot. So now we're going into Slot Car Derby. This is a really fun one. So the only thing you can do to control your car here is you can control the speed. You can hold all the way on the control stick to go at full speed or let go. So I have certain spots where I let go. One is right here. And then one right here and right here. Again, that's right here, here, and here. And yeah, if you just do that, this game's super consistent. So again, I just let go of the control stick at those points, and it's super easy every time. If you played this game before, you'll know that there's 3 different courses for Slot Car Derby. So depending which coaster you select, the course that you get is determined. So in normal, it's always course number 2. And the other games are like that as well. Same with bumper balls, it's also course number 2. With roll call, you're always counting boos. In other categories, you'll count bombs or toads. So yeah, all of that stuff is determined. But with that being said, there's still a lot of randomness. So Cake Factory, the one trick is, on this first part of the game, you want to wait till these strawberries are really close to your character before pressing A to pick them up. And of course you want to wait for Luigi to put the cake down. You could also end up getting the cakes, so in that case you want to put it down before the CPU puts the strawberry. For this last part, I wait till the strawberries are right around the middle of that plate, and that's where I press A to grab them. So next game is Destruction Duet. In this game, you're teaming up with your partner to basically destroy this big statue. This is the first example where if your partner just kind of sucks, then you can lose time. That's more apparent in other games, but this is the first example of it. So there's 3 different ways to deal damage to the statue. You can punch it, which does 2 damage, or no, punch it does 1 damage, kicking it does 2, and ground pounding does 3. So although ground pounding does the most damage, I'm going to use kicks because kicks are way, way, way faster than ground pounding and a lot more efficient than punching. So even though they do the medium amount of damage, they're very, very fast. So our next game is Balloon Burst. And Balloon Burst has us pressing a pump up and down. And you have to do it in a certain rhythm, but luckily the rhythm that you have to do is the same rhythm as the song playing. So yeah, pretty easy. A lot of people don't know that though, so it's a pretty good tip. Looney Lumberjacks is pretty similar to Balloon Burst, actually. We're going to be cutting a log in this game, and the trick to this one is not to alternate A and B really fast, because I think a lot of people think the trick is to alternate the A and B buttons really fast. It's actually to do full cuts with the saw, so you want to do full big cuts of the log, and that's the most efficient way to break it down. Alright, so now that we're through that, we're coming up on one of the big run killers. This is Speed Hockey. Speed Hockey is basically air hockey, but you can only move your character up and down. So there's a puck in the middle, and we're trying to score it in the opponent's goal. This is very, very annoying sometimes. So that was pretty quick. So I gotta make 3 goals here. Okay, maybe 1 more. That was really good, actually. Alright, I'll take that. Yeah, sometimes you will just get luck so good on that it will start in the middle and then just roll right into their goal. It's pretty funny when it happens. I've actually had it happen twice in one game before. Alright, and that's World 2. I should mention that the way this run works is that Worlds 1 and 4 are all 4-player games, Worlds 2 and 5 are all 2v2s, and Worlds 3 and 6 are all 1v3. Okay, so for this game, you need to imagine a grid. These characters are in a grid, and the timers, so the bottom amounts are 1, 2, and 3. And the top are 2, 3, and 4. So each character corresponds to a number. In this case, it was 1, 2, and 3. So if those numbers add to 7 or less, I can get all the characters in one go. So in this case, they added to 6. So I can actually pick up all the characters and know that the timer's not going to run out unless I do that. Well, that means I lost the game. That's kind of unfortunate, but it happens. So, like I said, losing is not really that big of a deal. I just have to redo the game. So again, I guess I get to re-explain it. Just imagine a grid, 2 tall and 3 across. These characters in a grid. So the bottom numbers are 1, 2, 3, and the top is 2, 3, 4. So in this case, I can't get them all in one go because I got 1, 3, and 4, so that adds to 8. Which means I'm gonna just grab the nearest clock, which in this case is the 20. And you can always just grab the nearest clock if that happens. It doesn't matter even if it's only the 15. You should always be fine. But yeah, you actually have to spam the A button in order to keep holding on to the characters. And if you don't do a good job spamming, they can actually get away. So that's kind of what happened on the first game there. You also want to make sure you're actually completely hovered over the characters when you pick them up, because if you only barely pick them up by the corner, you also risk dropping them. So those are kind of the tricks to Crane game. Some of the tips I'm going to be getting will definitely help you beat your friends. Others are just more for the speedrunning, but you know, they're all really cool tips either way. Look Away is a really good game. So in this one, we are going to be pause buffering in order to reliably win. It's like, so every time the CPU usually chooses one direction and then chooses the second one. Oh man, Wario trolled me there. He actually chose a third direction. Man, I was a little too late. You have to pause buffer pretty well between the first and second pick. Yoshi actually stayed facing right there. Okay, I have one more chance. Okay. So yeah, that's basically the trick. You know that in most cases they will choose 2 directions to look in. So you let them look once, and then as they're changing, you pause buffer and you can kind of tell which direction they're looking in. That can get hard in some cases to tell whether they're going to maybe go neutral or go a different direction. So that's the one bad part. But it's a more or less reliable strategy, and sometimes you can use that to easily get a double kill. So Archer Rival, pretty simple if these baby Bowser and Toad cooperate. In this case, they're not really cooperating, but sometimes they do. So I want Peach to kind of get over here. I'm gonna get Wario while I'm waiting. Okay. But yeah, the interesting thing about Look Away is it is technically possible to get all the CPUs to look in the same direction on the very first turn. I've had it happen, I think, twice. It's very rare though, but it's a 4% chance technically. So bowl over, you get 2 chances to throw your shell at the bowling pins, and ideally you want to get all 3 CPUs in one go. So there I got a nice pattern, so it's very easy. You don't always get a nice pattern. Sometimes they're kind of spread out. You aren't forced to throw your bowling ball immediately. You can actually wait for the CPUs to move around a little bit. So if you get a really bad pattern, one of the things you can do is wait a few seconds for them to maybe move closer to each other and then throw your bowling ball instead of just accepting throwing it twice. Alright, and that is World 3. So we're back into 4-player minigames. So we're going into Toad in the Box. This is another one that uses pause buffering, but I try not to use it too much because it wastes some time. I'd rather just rely on my timing here. So here we need to hit the Toad side of the die block. So for the first 3, I try to time it. And then for 4 is where I start pause buffering because it gets very fast. So I try to pause when the Bowser face is showing. For this one, I generally just spam at the start. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't work, then I will start pausing, and when I pause where it's showing the chain chomp on the dice, that is where I will unpause and press A. I should mention that you can't actually pause buffer in this game. So what I'm doing is I unpause and then immediately press the button that I want to press. Okay, so for Tipsy Turny, you can kind of follow this pattern that I'm doing here in order to reliably clear everything out. It is kind of not the most consistent thing in the world, but that wasn't too bad. I only lost like 2 seconds to that extra tile at the end. So Totem Pole Pound is pretty easy. In this game, we're ground pounding totem poles into the ground, and whoever does it first wins. The trick to this game is that you want to do a full jump before you do your ground pound. And the way to know the timing on your first jump is just a little bit before the start text disappears, but you could just time it when the start text disappears to be safe, kind of like that. And then once Mario like looks up, that's when I time my next jump. Like once he's fully standing again. And then just wait till you hit your peak of your jump and do a ground pound, and it works every time. So our next game is Dizzy Dancing. Dizzy Dancing randomizes the controls that you use for the game, basically. It kind of shifts the control stick. You're never going to get normal controls. So the person who wins is the first person who gets this node in the middle. So the trick that I do is I basically hold the opposite direction of whatever part of the board I'm in. So I'm in the, or rather I hold the direction of the part of the board I'm in. So I started in the top right, I just hold top right, and generally that gives me the best results. And then I kind of just adjust from there to see which direction I need to start holding. So Shell Shocked is a game where we're all in tanks trying to knock each other out. Each person has 2 health, so I can abuse that a little bit if I need to. The general strategy here is I'm going to just spam A at the start to try to get a hit on the person ahead of me, and then I'm going to go for the person that they are not targeting. So Peach is ahead of me, she's targeting Wario. I'm going to go for DK. Let them take care of each other. Wario took care of Peach, and now I'm going to take care of Wario. And that's World 4. We're all done with 4-player minigames. So World 5 is kind of the donation world of the run in a marathon. This game hasn't actually been shown off at a marathon before, by the way, but if it got into one, it would be the donation world for sure. We've got a couple auto-scrollers here, but before that, we have Magnet Carta. This is our first coin minigame. The interesting thing with coin minigames is you only have to get 10 coins in order to win. You don't even have to get the most coins. So the other team could get way more coins than me, and it's fine. So the trick to this one is I want to grab kind of like the coins at the corner and at the bottom, and that clears way for the chest. Okay, I really need to get the chest here though. Oh, I lost. Oh, that's like not really common. Huh, well, it's fine. But yeah, generally you want to try to get that chest to guarantee your victory. No big deal. This is a quick one to retry. Yeah, so I'm gonna go for the chest. I'm gonna wait for Luigi to move here, because if you run into CPUs, you get bumped all around. Well, that's okay. Alright, so now we actually have an auto-scroller. Oh, it's not really an auto-scroller, but it's pretty straightforward level. So The one real trick to bobsled run is in order to go full speed, you can actually hold forward on the control stick. Other than that, it's kind of just steering and trying to take good angles. There are these boosts on the course, like this one, that do save a few seconds throughout the course. So you want to know where those are and be ready for them. They're not too hard to hit as long as you're anticipating them. There's one coming up though that doesn't really save much time and is kind of hard to hit actually, because you have to take a weird turn. It's a kind of a part of the course where there's like a split path, so I just don't go for it. And that's actually a pretty common strategy. A lot of people just don't go for it. So the category in this game that I've sunk the most time into is actually all boards. And this game actually has a really interesting strategy in all boards. You intentionally try to knock the CPU off, and then run off the game yourself to end it in a draw immediately. But unfortunately for Minigame Coaster, draws do not count as a win, so you have to win the game. So we can't do that. But it's okay. It's got nice music, so that's at least a plus. So Handcar Havoc is also pretty straightforward. This is another game where your CPU partner can kind of screw you over a little bit. This game's pretty simple. The one, I guess, sort of hard thing is that you have to spam A for about 30 seconds here, and you have to spam pretty hard. The CPUs are actually like pretty good on the other team usually. And then you have to know where the turns are, because you have to hold the direction of the turn as you do it. And that gives you more speed. But yeah, if your partner is not like holding the correct direction, that can kind of mess you up. Like right here, Luigi kind of keeps turning to the right for some reason, which is worrying me. I hope I can still win. Yeah, so I finished just a little ahead there. Alright, next minigame is Sky Pilots. You know, a lot of these are pretty similar in World 5, just kind of straightforward courses that you play through with your partner. Sky Pilots is no exception to that. It does have some interesting mechanics though that I will talk about. So Sky Pilots has these big rainbow rings that you can go through, and those increase your speed. And there is actually a technique to going through them correctly. So basically I get kind of to the right here and then turn left into them, and that actually sets me up to go through both. Now after the first rings, there's going to be 2 cannonball shots here, so I avoid one and then avoid the second one, and I try to not adjust my angle so much throughout the course because it loses time. The other interesting thing here is these Bowser balloons. If you run into them, you will get hit and be sent backwards, but the strings don't actually have a hitbox. So if you're worried about hitting them, you at least don't have to worry about hitting the strings. I think that's something not a lot of people know. And then there's going to be another cannonball shot here that I'm going to avoid, and that's the course. Pretty good. So this next game, Torpedo Targets, is the one big example in the normal run where you can just get luck that absolutely does not let you win the minigame. So the way this minigame works is you're underwater and you're partnered with another person. One person is controlling your little ship, and the other person is controlling where the torpedoes go and also when they're shot. You're trying to hit as many targets as you can. The issue is that I don't get to control the ship. In normal Coaster, you always are the one controlling the torpedoes, which is really bad because sometimes your CPU partner will just be going all over the place and nowhere near the targets. The way the torpedoes are controlled is also a bit unintuitive. So moving your control stick left or right does move the torpedo left or right, but moving it down moves the torpedo up, and moving it up moves the torpedo down, so it's like flip-flopped. Kind of similar to like swimming controls in other games, like Mario 64, I guess. But it's kind of awkward with torpedoes. It feels more intuitive when you're swimming. The other important thing about this game, or just any game really in general, you cannot end it in a draw. So if you both get the same number of torpedoes, you lose, which kind of sucks. That level also is a really good example of basically somewhere where I'm saving time over N64, because I'm playing on Wii Virtual Console, and on Nintendo 64, that level would lag a lot every time you shoot a torpedo, but I don't really have to worry about that because I'm playing on Virtual Console. So, this is Toad's Bandstand. This is pretty straightforward. The instrument that you get in this game is not determined, so you have to make sure you're actually paying attention to which instrument you get, because I've accidentally pressed the notes for the wrong one before, like multiple times. So if this does get into the marathon, I actually have a little song prepared that I'm gonna sing during this game. I won't sing it now though, I won't spoil. Actually, this one time I have gotten a minigame here where I hit every note and my partner like missed so many that I still lost. But that's only happened one time. So I would say it's probably a pretty rare occurrence, but it's still funny that it can happen. I did kind of forget about that. So yeah, we're already going into our final world here. It's been a pretty fun run so far. So Quicksand Cache is our next game. This is the next coin minigame. This one's really fun. So like I said, with coin minigames, you only need to get 10 coins in order to have it considered as a win. So in this one, you can really go for as many coins as you want, but I am just going to grab 10 and then try to die immediately. Those bags, those are worth 5, so if I just happen to get like 2 bags, that's all I need. I'm not getting very lucky here so far. Very unlucky, as a matter of fact. I'm actually worried I'm not going to make it. Maybe a bag will fall, huh? I need one more. Okay, well, still saved a few seconds over just waiting till the end. Yeah, my fastest, I think I got it in like 4 seconds before. Because I just had 2 bags fall down at the start. I just grabbed them both and ended it. So the next minigame is Lights Out. In this minigame, you have a hammer and the other 3 CPUs have a light bulb, and you have to break their light bulbs. This one goes super fast. There are 2 ways you can swing the hammer, either horizontally or vertically. So I press B to swing it horizontally, and that's the most efficient way to clear these guys out. That should have gotten them both. I don't know why I didn't. There we go. So yeah, pressing B there is the best way. Alright, Shock, Drop, and Roll is next. This one's really interesting because it kind of doesn't follow the general rules of Mario Party, like 1v3 games. You're on the team of 3 here, and even if your opponents survive, that doesn't matter, because if you get knocked out, you lose the minigame, according to the minigame coaster. So I actually have to survive the full 30 seconds here. However, there is a trick to it, and that trick is jumping. You can just keep jumping, and it actually makes it way easier to stay on top of this rolling platform. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm jumping and then adjusting my angle while I'm in the air. Alright, our next minigame is Move to the Music. This one's a little bit similar to Toad's Bandstand, but you actually have to remember what notes to press. You can't, like, not only do you have to press them at the right time, but you also have to remember which notes to press. And those notes are just the buttons on your controller. So I'll usually talk out loud while I do this one. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. B, left, B, right, B, left, Z, right. Down, down, A, right, Z, B. Down, down, A, right, Z, B. The one weird quirk to this game is you actually want to press the input like a little bit before you would think. I've tried, like, whenever I try timing it correctly, a lot of times I just have it drop, like it just doesn't register. But when I time it a little before, it works every time. So that's been my trick for that game. That very well just could be my TV's input delay, but I don't know, that works for me. So for this game, you basically just spam A to go forward, and you can adjust your direction. The instructions tell you that you don't want to spam A too fast, or you will fall over. But it's pretty hard to actually get to that point where you start falling over. So I actually just kind of spam as fast as I can. For these slopes, you want to spam, and then on the down slope is where you want to not press anything at all. And then once Mario gets back up, and starts spamming again. And that's Filet Relay. Absolutely destroyed the team of 3. And just like that, we're already on our final game, Bob-omb Barrage. This is a pretty fun one to end the run with. So I guess it's technically an auto-scroller, but it's not like a free one. So in this game, you are riding on a boat, and the other 3 characters are trying to throw bombs into your boat. And if a single bomb lands in there, you're out. You gotta restart the game. So the one trick to this one is you can hang out on the top, and that pretty much gives them the least chances of throwing a bomb into your boat. But it's still pretty easy for them to do it. So, and you don't move terribly fast either. So this is a pretty intense way to end your run, for sure. Oh man, that was close. Alright, and that is it. So I'm gonna head into this pipe here, spam through some text, and then there's gonna be a fade out, and that fade out is where the timing ends. So yeah, I really hope if you've watched this far that you've enjoyed the run. This game really hasn't gotten any kind of exposure in terms of marathons, so would be really cool to show it off. And in addition to that, Mario Party 2 is releasing on the Switch sometime in 2022, so by the time AGDQ 2023 rolls around, that game's going to be on the Switch, and I get to teach people a bunch of tricks in order to beat their friends. I think that's pretty cool. And that's time. 31:57, that's pretty good. So, world record for this is 28:59, my PB is 29:41. So, yeah, super happy with how that run went. You know, a couple mistakes, but just kind of got to show everything off. I'm really happy with that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the run.